All right, we're going to call to order the committee meeting, our last budget hearing of the year. It's just past 5 o'clock. Just a reminder, we did police, fire, and public service last week. We're going to finish with recreation, and then we'll have the city administrator kind of wrap it up. Sometime, I'm not sure if we're going to look to present it the 8th or the 15th, but one of those 2 days, we will present the budget for passage. And then we'll move forward into next calendar year. But again, anytime, just because something is in the budget doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an expenditure to the city of Oregon. Just that we have budgeted it. They still have to bring things forward to city council for any purchases that need to be made. Just because they're in the book doesn't mean it's automatic. So we do have an opportunity to reassess and refocus and reassess as we move forward throughout the calendar year. So just so the community knows that just because it's in this book doesn't mean that it's a purchase. They still have to come forward and pass an ordinance for the city of Oregon to make that purchase throughout the calendar year. With that, I'll ask City Administrator Mazur if he has anything that he wants to add before we go right to the Recreation Department. Okay, therefore, we'll go right to Tim Borton. Mr. Borton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, council and the mayor, for all your support in the past year. Without your support, our programs don't happen, so we do appreciate that. Just want to go through quickly, give you some highlights from this year, and then look at the budget for next year. One of the things we had happen kind of neat this year, Isaiah Kinn, local Boy Scout, finished his Eagle Scout project this year. He put up first aid boxes around our complex that were stocked with Band-Aids and antiseptic ointment, basic, simple first aid that, you know, if a kid on the splash pad scrapes his knee, he can grab a Band-Aid real quick, or his mom or dad can. He made about 12 of these boxes. We spaced them around the complex. We have pulled them in for the winter to protect them, and then we'll restock them again in the spring and put them back out. So we thank Isaiah for that effort that he put in there to make those happen. Another thing we did this year, we hosted our first fishing derby since 2006. I've been here for almost 23 years, and we used to host one over at Pearson Park. But with our new pond, I know that was one of the pushes of council was to do some more outdoor kind of things. So we got the pond stocked with rainbow trout from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And we had almost 50 kids sign up. It came out on a really nasty rainy day in May, but they came out and had a great time fishing out there at the pond. And we had a lot of winners, a lot of rainbow trout were caught, so people were really excited about that. Of course, we had the USA Patriots in July, and despite the rain and all the problems we had with weather that day, everyone had a great time. From talking to some of the athletes afterwards, when we went out to dinner with them, they were ecstatic. They thought it worked out great. They loved the complex and the venue. They said we were very accommodating. So it was a great project all around. They were really excited. We had that free kids camp, if you will, baseball camp, softball camp during the day. And they had 58 kids come out for that, which is the most they said they've ever had for that type of an event, just that free baseball clinic, and they thought that was great. And at the end of that camp, they played a game of kickball with the kids, which was a lot of fun to watch, and they all seemed to have a great time. So the Patriots event was a great event. Unfortunately, the rain kept probably some of the public away, but even with the public we had here, it was a great event, and thanks to police and fire for playing the Patriots and making that all happen. Some of our other highlights, of course, we had Honeyfest. This was the third year for Honeyfest, so we expanded. We got the bigger tent this year for the musical acts to be underneath, and just to give us some shade, which that's been sort of the biggest complaint the first 2 years, was the lack of shade. We have Mr. Myers doing the bee beard there, and then some of the vendors. For that event this year, we had over 50 vendors at the Honeyfest, and 12 of those were honey vendors, so lots of honey to be bought. The public had a great time with it. People were giving us compliments all day long about how great the event was. So we look forward to doing that again in 2026. We also have all our holiday happenings, which are actually just going on now. Tomorrow is the last day to register any houses for outside home decorating contests, so the Wonder Lights contest, or trees for the indoor Wonder Tree contest. And again, police and fire help us with that. They help with the judging and then also distributing the prizes when that comes time. They'll go out and hand the the winners their winnings and their plaque and everything, so we appreciate that. That's always a great time. People love the light tour, so once we have all the homes listed out here in the next day or two, we'll work with the Public Service Department to get the map posted online of where all the homes are at that people can drive around and visit and see. We did host, for tournaments this year, we hosted 16 tournaments, brought in a lot of people from outside of Oregon to Oregon. That was some baseball, softball tournaments, soccer, flag football, just our local league tournaments. Also included a clay girls soccer kind of preseason tournament with several teams from around the area coming out and play, and they always love that. People we talk to, they always say this is one of the best complexes they come to. They look forward to coming here every year to play their games for their different tournaments that they're a part of. So this year we brought in just over $40,000 in field rental fees. That is down from last year. Last year we were close to $50,000, but a lot of that was due to the fact in 2024 we hosted 17 events. This year the Special Olympics, which paid a pretty good fee to rent the fields, but still reasonable. They chose to move their state tournament to Columbus to make it a little more centralized for their athletes. So that, again, they love the complex. It was just closer for some of their athletes to come to Central Ohio. That event moved out this year, and we had one or two events that were scheduled that for whatever reason those tournament groups canceled those. So we were down a little bit this year. Right now, I already have 18 weekends booked for baseball, softball tournaments next year, up again from this year. So we're also in discussions of hosting a 5-on-5 soccer tournament, and I'm hoping to meet either Tuesday or Wednesday with a gentleman who wants to bring a regional flag football tournament out here to our soccer complex with about 60 teams from kind of all over the Midwest area. So that's something we're looking at doing hopefully in 2026 as well. Just some highlights for 2025 from our budget. Our recreation fees, we actually collected $339,000 plus some change. We are budgeted $275,000, so higher than we thought. Concession fees, we collected $88,000 or $85,000 and some change. That's lower than the $100,000 budgeted, but the little asterisk there, please note that any credit cards that we charge on the concession stand, those actually get deposited in the recreation fees. So overall, we collected $425,000 above the $375,000 that was budgeted. So if that makes sense. So our concessions look like we didn't bring in as much as we budgeted. That's because more and more purchases are made with credit card, and a lot of those just get deposited into the recreation fees category. Nick and I did have a conversation last year when we kind of identified that, and there's not really a way to track that any differently at this point in time. So just wanted to make note of that, where those fees are budgeted, and that's how that works out. Some other highlights this year, or in '24, I was over by about $10,000 in our concession staffing. This year, we're $4,000 under budget. Same thing with our grounds crew. We are over by about $4,000. This year, we'll be just under about $14,000 under budget. So a few things we did differently. We changed some of our staffing patterns as far as our concessions and grounds went. We also had a position in the grounds crew that we didn't hire this year that was getting paid a little bit more, but we didn't need that anymore with Mr. Root's experience that he now has as the maintenance director. So we worked out some things on that to try and keep that under budget this year. So we're really excited about that. I know Joel and Nick were happy too when I told them that. So that's a good thing we're working on. Just some goals for next year. We want to continue to offer high-quality programs. From the parents we talk to, they all love our programs. Yes, we have our issues here and there. Every now and then we have a hard time finding coaches, which a lot of that is just due to growth. For example, this year for basketball, we have almost 360 kids playing basketball. So we were searching for some coaches at the last minute. That's just due to the increase in players, the increase in number of teams, those kind of things. This year, we had about a 3% increase in total participation from last year. If you look at the spreadsheet that I put out in front of the council members, it just kind of shows our numbers over the last several years. Please note, those are comparing equal programs. So if there was a new program this year, I didn't include that in the registration or in those numbers. I just put in programs that have been offered the last several years. So you can see where participation's increasing, where it's decreasing, what the overall numbers are. But comparing like programs, we're not starting 5 new programs and throwing them in there and saying our participation went up. So I try to make that even. Probably one of the highlights, one of the biggest growing programs was the girls flag football. Last year was our first year from that. We had 125. This year we had 170 girls playing flag football this summer. So a huge increase. Don't be shocked if that's not the next high school sport that comes to the state of Ohio, because that is a growing area. So we're excited about those numbers. Again, a 3% increase, highest in a long time. You can see the trend from 2021 just coming out of COVID to now, and see where those numbers are at. We also do want to develop some tournaments for the soccer side. As I stated earlier, we're meeting with the flag football folks. Right now, we use that a lot in the spring and fall for our programs, but besides our ESSL soccer tournaments that we host and the clay soccer tournament, we haven't had a lot of usage out there for tournaments. So we want to develop that in 2026. Obviously maintain our grounds and beautify them and facilities, and then just continue to improve our staffing levels. Hank, our program coordinator, and myself have been talking about as some of our seasonal hires, because we've talked about, can we get another office staff? Could we get a part-time program assistant? One of the ways we may work around that is we may hire seasonals, but a seasonal sports coordinator. So they may come in for 6 or 8 weeks and help with just baseball. And then we'll look at a different person to help us with football or soccer, those kind of things. So to give us some help in the office, to give Hank a little bit of a reprieve, someone he can hand some things off to, but also not create a full-time, part-time, permanent position in that. And then just our CIP request for this year, you guys all have a copy of our operating budget. CIP-wise, we do want to do an HVAC design for our soccer concession building. As most of you know, when that was built, there was no heat or air conditioning in that building. So every year we have to winterize that building, shut off all the water, close everything down, drain everything out, and then obviously unwinterize it in the spring, I guess. So the cost to design a new system is going to be about $12,000. I apologize, I didn't realize the font was going to be so small there. That's just the design cost. Once we get the design back, then obviously we bring something to council about the install, if that would happen in 26, or if we'd push that off till 27. We're guessing that cost is going to be between $50,000 and $60,000 to heat and air condition the soccer concession stand. The plan would be just to heat and air condition in the concession side of the building and only heat the baseball side or the bathroom side. So we're not worried about necessarily air conditioning in the bathrooms, but just for staff comfort in the concession stand. Also, we do store product there. We lost a lot of M&Ms, which aren't supposed to melt, but when it gets to 95 degrees in the building, they melt. So that's why we're looking at the HVAC system there for that structure. We do want to replace the light poles at Haley's Boardwalk. If you haven't been out there in a while, there's 15 poles. 2 or 3 of them are broken off right at the post. They've snapped through the years. And there's 1 or 2 that don't operate because the lights are busted and broken and hanging. So we want to address that, get that back going. The drinking fountain at South Shore, I know has been talked about a little bit. We actually believe that we have identified what the issue was. So we do actually believe that when we restart that again in the spring, it will operate. But if it doesn't, this would be in the budget to replace that at that point in time. But we're hopeful and optimistic that it will be operable in the spring once we finally were able to coordinate staffing with the water department and ourselves to make that happen. Then our last few CIP requests, some electrical work to add security cameras to the soccer complex. Through the police department, they have a grant, I believe that's up in March, to purchase the actual cameras, but for the electrical work for those cameras to operate, we're hoping that's gonna be around $15,000 that would be put in the poles. It was requested by the pickleball folks that they say, hey, Tim, there's a lot of old people out here playing pickleball and young people too. They thought it'd just be nice if there was an outdoor AED there accessible at all times. We do have them on the grounds with our nighttime supervisors, but they're not here in the mornings when pickleball is being played in the afternoons and evenings. So this would be an outdoor unit, would be housed in some type of a cabinet to protect it from the weather, that they would have access to. Hopefully, we wouldn't need it, but if it was needed, it'd be right there accessible for the pickleball players at the courts. And then the last thing is a pull-behind top dresser. This would be a unit that if we're reseeding areas or if we need to put down some soil, it puts it down nice and even and smooth, just to help with areas in our complex that may need some maintenance, some grass replanted, or we have to do some repair work to the ground, rough it up, get it smoothed all back out, ready to go again. We did look at a driving unit, and we were shocked that it was almost $50,000. But a pull-behind unit at $8,000, we thought was a reasonable kind of compromise there. So total CIP request to be about $60,500. I don't know if there's any questions about any of those items. All right. And then I guess the last thing from our standpoint, we do have the tree lighting this Saturday, right out here at the complex, 4 to 6:30 at the municipal complex. We will have some make-your-own ornaments. In the community room, you can come and make an ornament to hang on the tree and then take it home that night. We'll have Mr. and Mrs. Claus will show up at one point in time during the evening. We'll get the tree lit. We'll have some caroling. We'll have some dancers performing as well. So it's always a fun night. It is supposed to be a little chilly, so we'll play it by ear if we're going to be indoors or outdoors. But that is coming up this Saturday, and all are welcome and invited. Any questions?
Councilors, any questions for Mr. Borton?
Mr. Walczak?
Yes, Councilman Drake.
Yeah, I got a question for Mr. Borton. I know you mentioned the pickleball courts. I know there was some talk early on, I know it's still new, if there's any interest in possibly having tournaments or things like that.
Yeah, we did, the Isaiah 117 house actually did host a tournament fundraiser out there in the same day as the Patriots, so July 19th. And they had a great event. They were ready to come out and do some more. I've been talking to the local pickleball folks about operating some tournaments as well. So yes, we'll look at some pickleball tournaments in the future as well.
Okay, do they currently have, is there leagues started or they just?
It's all open play at this point in time. They just drop in and you go out there most mornings during the week in the summer and it's packed. I don't think they want much organization from our standpoint at this point in time yet, but I'm sure they'd be happy if we put a few tournaments together and we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilman Drake. Is there any other questions from council members? Mr. Borton, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes our last department. Mr. Mazur, do you want to address anything before we close the meeting?
He's gonna bring it to you right now.
And prior to, I want to offer Mayor-elect, do you have anything that you want to address on city budget before we close up shop?
No, I don't have anything at this time. Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Yep. Mr. Mazur.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Just to recap some of the things here, we had, on this graph that's up on the screen right now in 2024, 2025, it would be much more balanced. And I'm saying above these are the ending year balances. They would be above $16 million each year had it not been for property purchases in the industrial park. So I wanted to point that out. And just to give a comparison to 2025's budget, what was passed last year and this budget right now as it sits, we had showed a deficit in each year, but if you look at the projected actuals for 2025, we're balancing. So this is just operations, does not include the property purchases, which are one-time anomalies. So operationally, we are balancing. Now, it could be a little different in 2026. I know Nick gets nervous, and so do I, but the nerves come in when we have a SAFER grant, we're hiring more personnel, and that's a direct impact on the general fund budget. So that is, I guess, the biggest concern. And then, of course, the what ifs. What if we don't bring in the revenue? What if we don't, and there are years where there are highs and lows on revenues, but I think overall we're trending in a positive direction, and there's no reason to believe that we won't see operationally us trending in the same trajectory. So with that, I was just going to skip all the way back to the last piece here and just show all of the things that when we go through the budget, we did eliminate these items. There's a list here. We had recommended carving these out. We did carve them out. If council wants to add these back in, they can be added back in now, and the budget can be voted on, or they don't have to be added in now, but they can be added in later as a supplemental appropriation. So just wanted to point out that these were the items that were removed, and at this point, I don't have anything further to talk about.
Thank you,
but-
Mr. Mazer.
Yep.
Council members, is there any questions from council? Yeah,
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Councilman Horniak.
so I guess I'm going to be that guy just a little bit, but I do think it's worth bringing forward and talking about. So we're projecting an overspend of the budget, bottom line number of $3.18 million. So a little better than $3 million, with $1 million that was withheld from the budget, potentially to be added back on. So even though we're projecting conservative on the tax side and conservative on the expenditure side, which means revenue's low, expenditure's high, we know that those are going to move to the middle a little bit. We are still projecting next year's budget with a $3+ million deficit.
Yeah, Mr. Hornick, so it's actually 4.56 million is what the general fund budgeted deficit is for next year. 5.7, sorry. Yeah, it was,
And that is not including that $1.1 million of set-aside projects that was removed from the.
yeah, those were removed, correct.
Okay. So I know in years past, as we've kind of worked through the budget, and I saw a little bit of this in the different departments, but I wanted to, I'll say, kind of had the conversation at this point in time. If we're projected at let's call it $4.5 million deficit for easy math, if we can say the smoothing from conservative budgeting puts plus or minus $1 million, so we gain $2 million, we're still potentially at a 2.57 million projected deficit. Do we have a list of another $2 million of expenditures that are not as necessary as others? I guess I'm asking, have we prioritized that $2.5 million or $3 million out of 2026 budget that gets looked at later on, such as the million? I mean, if we're already in deficit spending at $4.5 million, and there's another $1.1 million of expenditure proposed, I mean, that's an overspend by over 10%. So I guess I look at it more financially conservative and say, what are we doing to manage that 4.5 deficit number before we even turn into that? And for Mayor-elect Salander, he's inheriting a budget that inherently is going to start out $4.5 million in the hole. And we're going to get into rainy day funds. We could sell the land. Other things may come up. We could get hit with tax returns. That can have an impact into any of these pieces. So have we laid out a plan B of if we got to get tight, if we want to skinny down that $4.5 million deficit spend, where is that coming from? Do we have that priority list?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, if you don't mind starting.
Mr. Horniak, a lot of times what would happen if we start getting into the year and we're not bringing in the revenues that are projected, one of the things is most of the budget is personnel expenses. That's what it is. So you go into a hiring freeze. It could be temporary, or it could be, hopefully not, hopefully it's long-term, or hopefully it's short-term, not long-term, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And you start there. like I said, most of the expenses are personnel. I don't have a percentage on what that is in the general fund budget, but that's a start, and I think we'll know a lot more by January 31st. January 31st typically is when we get everything rolled over into the new year, so we know how much wasn't spent in 2025, and that rolls back into the budget. Usually, again, we estimate conservatively, but hopefully we're gonna balance and maybe even be a little bit higher than where we were last year. I guess the point of this slide is to show that, hey, we had a built-in $4.6 million deficit in 2025 that council approved, and it turns out we were conservative on our expenditures, we were conservative on revenues, and we balanced in the operations side. The other thing is that there is a lot of land out there, so land sales, that would be, we have a purchase agreement in place in the industrial park. That's in place, and that's still progressing forward, but, there are some decisions that need to be made with that, so.
Well, and the other part I look at is, just through conversations we've had through this year's budgetary process, we know we have a need in our police department. We know there's a capital need that we have to address sooner rather than later. If our conservative budgeting at 4.5 million is accurate, and it wouldn't take a whole lot to make those things happen that could make that be a reality. Like I said, we get a couple carry-forwards, a couple net losses from businesses, refunds, whatever it might be, that can easily come into that. Knowing that we do have a land sale, assuming all that goes through, that puts a plus $7.5 million into the city's coffers, but that's one-time money. So as we project moving forward with the needs that we have, I haven't even talked about the 9 additional firefighters, where we have a grant that helps us offset the cost of that through the first 3 years. At some point in time, that bill is going to come due. So, I would just ask us to look at how we prioritize what projects could be kicked down the road if we get to. Because a lot of what gets appropriated for 2025, if it doesn't get utilized, it may die off, it may just roll into 26. Because we get a lot of that, well, this is appropriated in 25, we're gonna spend it in 26. That's okay, we do the adjustments, understand the mechanics of how that works, but again, some of that roll forward will come. We also are gonna see some over budgeting and some change orders that come on projects, and we've got some significant projects coming in. Could be $500,000 to $1 million. So that's not even anticipated into a potential deficit. Knowing we've got a police department that needs work, we got firefighters we need to carry, we got other facilities, programs, and services that we want to continue, I think we need to look at that. But what I would say, for those that are listening or can hear my voice, when we talk about the development, with it being today a potential data center, this is the why. When we talk about that, you want full-time fire, this is the why. You want an updated police department so they're ready to go and they're there for us when we need them, this is the why. When you're projecting $2, $3, $4+ million in deficit spending and hoping your conservative math shakes out close to the middle as we did this year, there's gonna be a day when that doesn't happen. There's going to be a time when we're gonna need that $3, $4, or $5 million. And we're gonna need to do roads, and we're gonna need to do water. Set aside a potential water development down the road. Tens of millions of dollars. That's why when we talk about the development, when we talk about the opportunities before the city, and a lot of people may have questions, concerns about it. And when you ask, why is council and the administration talking about this? Why are we working so hard to see if we can make this happen? Because of that right there. Because someday the check comes due, and somebody's got to pay the check. And if we asked every taxpayer in the city of Oregon to cover a $4.5 million deficit every year, I won't even do the math for you. It'll be ugly. That's why the development is important. But I do want to go back to, I would like us to look at where are the places we skinny down the budget? If chickens come home to roost and we got to figure out where there's $1 million or $2 million. I think it's only responsible of us to at least know what that plan looks like before you get there.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Roman wanted to address something you had a concern with, and then we're going to go to Councilwoman Pauloff. Mr. Roman?
Well, I just wanted to touch upon Mr. Horniak's words, just that the biggest concern is operating, but it's also operating in the general fund, which is fire, police, rec, and streets. On the water side, water and wastewater, it's an own enterprise fund, and there is, revenue that's collected that goes towards that. When it comes to concerns over operations, it's going to be the operations of the general fund department. So again, to emphasize the SAFER grant, there should be a plan in place for operating expenses. We're not talking capital, we're talking operating. That's the biggest concern. So water and sewer, obviously there could be a capital improvement charge, there could be rate increase, things like that will cover that, but it'll be the general fund, and that is my biggest concern with that SAFER grant. So that's my view.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pauloff?
So I know in the past, we've done a lot of things through attrition. When somebody retires, we don't fill the spot. Have we exhausted a lot of the people that are retiring soon? I mean, there used to be a thing where, you kind of had a feel of how many people were retiring in a year. But now I have a feeling that they're all they're younger than me. So was that also, I'm sure that was looked at as well? What we're looking at personnel, and, you have drop programs, you have retirements. Is there a big influx of people who are close to retirement this year, or?
Mr. Mather?
Mr. Chair and Ms. Pauloff. Every year, whether it's retirements or people leaving for moving or whatever it is that they're doing, there's always a degree of turnover. I'd also point out there are many options to Mr. Horniak's point here, is there are many options. One would be the most impactful would be to not, go on a hiring freeze in general fund accounts. The other thing would be to, and I think that's the point Paul was trying to make, was that, and not in the enterprise funds, because that's totally separate. And I've been through these before where you get bumping from department to department if you have to eliminate positions or anything like that. But basically it'd have to be looking at each individual account to see where we're at in those accounts and whittling those down. Each line item, every page in this book gets looked at, and you whittle down each line item, which we did actually this year to some degree, much to some of the department heads' ire. They didn't like that. Some of them are looking at me right now, and
Well, not to
that's
interrupt
part of the deal, though. It's part of this.
Not,
part
not
of
to
budgeting.
interrupt you, I just don't want to hear the layoff word. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? That's the word I
That
don't
would be
wanna go near.
extreme. Yeah,
It'd be
and
strictly attrition first.
Yeah,
that's a big what if to me. To me, it's a big what if. I get what you're saying. There is that what if. It's showing it up here on paper, but realistically, what we showed last year was worse than this year, and now we're coming into the end of the year and we're balanced. Operationally, we're balanced.
okay,
So,
thank you for
that
that.
would, yeah, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mason. Council members, is there any other questions?
I would just ask to follow up.
Yes, Mr.
If I
Horniak.
could briefly. And again, not speaking to the personnel side of it, because that's the human touch, that's the city service side of what we do and what we provide here. I'm just saying, every year I prepare a budget of about $100 million. And I'm always asked when I'm done projecting my budget and presenting it, okay, where's your contingencies? Where are you gonna get to if you gotta get to? What are you gonna do? Because that ultimately always becomes a question. And I guess I'm just saying, let's look into what those contingencies are. And this year, even with our revenues and expenditures balancing, you know, we added some things into 2025 that were not projected to be in 2025 to the tune of about $1 million, give or take, just a couple quick ones off the top of my head. I think we have to look at that heading into 2026 of being even more conservative with those additional projects and ideas that come up at $300,000-$400,000 a pop. I think we have to be a little bit more, scrutinous into saying yes to those things, especially until we can see how a year plays out, into maybe Q3, late Q3, early Q4, see how the numbers look like they're shaking. But again, I do think we do need to look at the contingencies. If you got to go find $1 million or $2 million, where is it? Just so you have an idea of what that looks like. And again, it's an unpopular drill. I don't like doing it myself professionally, but I get asked that every time I present a budget. What's your plan B? What's your contingencies? And I think as a city with 30 million plus in expenditures just on the operations side, I think we should be responsible to think that way. And that would be my only ask.
Mr. Horniak.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add a little bit,
Yes, Mr. Roman.
just for context. So anytime a department goes to make a purchase, they have to put in a requisition. It goes through the supervisor, department head, and then it goes to the city administrator, then it goes to the mayor, and then it comes to the finance director. So all of us have to approve that, and that's something that if we were to not see the revenues we're expecting, or we see a downturn in the economy, that's really where it's gonna come down to, is we're gonna go to those supervisors and say, all right, what things are absolutely needed this year, what things are not. We have a general idea of that, but we're not in those departments on an everyday basis. So it's hard for us to give an answer right now of like, yes, these are the exact things that we would pick. That's something that would come, we would be going to the department heads and saying, hey, yeah, what, you need to whittle it down for us. If not, we're gonna be making those decisions, and you might not be happy with some of the stuff if it is needed. And that's where I actually had an issue with police in terms of doing the budget, is that we were going through, we were looking at prior years, what has been spent, and I went in and I was having a bad day, if I'm being honest, and I reduced some of their accounts because I've been trying to get this down. And so they came down, talked to me, we went through, and we were able to find some other areas that they were willing to give on in order to get those ones back up. So that's what's more what it would come to, is as the year goes on, communicating with council, communicating with department heads, and finding those items that aren't absolutely necessary to be purchased in 2026. I do believe it would be, or I think it would be hard to get to 2 million. I mean, maybe we could get to 1 million, and then if we go through attrition, maybe get a little bit more than that. But the reality is most of the general fund budget is personnel. And that's where it's very difficult to get this deficit down. So that's where I'm the biggest proponent of some sort of new revenue, whether that be the data center industrial, or if we want to look in other directions. But unfortunately, most of those other directions end up costing taxpayers, citizens a little bit more. And that's where I, again, am in favor of us pushing for this data center and this development. So just want to put that in there. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Thank you, Mr. Horniak. Council members, any questions? No?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Ackerman.
I would just concur with what Mr. Horniak said. I mean, farm life is you hope for the best, prepare for the worst. You don't know how it's going to play out till harvest, so that's later in the year. At that point, you've prioritized, what if I have the money, and I don't think it's unfair to ask the department heads to prioritize spending or what they need, what they'd like to have, wishes, their needs and wants. And I just think it's best I'm gonna be frugal. I'm always gonna err on the side of being a little tight with the money, and then if you have it, that's great, but we just don't know what a year will bring, even weather-wise, catastrophically, economy, all of those things. I mean, that's how I live my life every year, so I'm used to it. So I think it's fair to ask, like you said, for contingency plans of, because if we start spending throughout the year the way that it is, I mean, I'd rather see, I know some things are timely and have to be done at certain times. That's just the way the contracts are, or the purchases are, but I don't think it hurts to just have a little list of, not saying we're going to cut anything. We're not saying anything like that at all, but I just think it's good to have things prioritized when it comes to the spending, and I agree with you about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ackerman. Mr. Drake, do you have something?
Yeah, I know Mr. Roman had sent out about the water department, Mary Wolf. I know Mr. Gladio's gonna be retiring soon, it said, and I just wondered if, hopefully, I know how hard the water department guys work. They work real hard, and I know there's not many people that like to assist them either. So hopefully, it won't affect that department.
Well, and
Mr.
Mr. Chairman,
Roman.
Mr. Drake, and that is the perfect example of the enterprise fund. So water and sewer is its own managed fund. It has its own revenue and it's doing well. It, you know, we did a rate increase in 2023. It covers these expenses. So, and I did the comparison of other cities and quite frankly, any department that's looking to fill positions. And when it comes to even attrition and having a department argue against it, you know, it'll be, well, what other departments in other cities? How many people are there? How many officers? You can look at this a bunch of ways. I think you have to prove why you need something. Prove why you need the people that you have. But the enterprise funds are different. But again, it still should be a need. Just because we have money doesn't mean I need to hire. I mean, it should be showing you have a need to fill these spots. That's all. So. But that water would be in its own enterprise fund. I did have, we are going to post a position based on the memo I sent out. And I think it's certainly appropriate because we're certainly down people and we know people are going to retire in the next few months. So what it's worth.
And one other thing, I did go out and check looked at that salt dome that you talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, when water hits salt, it turns to basically a giant rock. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I guess I would say that'd probably be just, I'm not the smartest person up here, but I know salt's not cheap and you gotta have it. So I would say that would, just my opinion, that'd be definitely a priority to fix the leaks and all the water going in there.
Yeah, and so, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, when I noticed the list you had, I didn't see that on there. I thought, wait a minute, if you're gonna consider now one of those items from that million, hey, what about, you know, something that's really leaking now? So, yeah, I mean, that's just something that, look, and I always tell my staff too, even if it's approved in the budget, that doesn't mean it's approved by council to be spent. It doesn't mean it's gonna go through. You still have to defend it. Even at the time you do your ordinance, you still have to defend it, just like the budget. Okay? That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. Thank you, Mr. Roman.
Thanks.
Council, is there any further questions?
I was just going to say lightly, so what I heard from Mr. Roman is he heard the checkbook slam shut. Is what I heard.
Well, at this point, if we have no questions, council, I think we're going to direct the administration to review and have contingencies in place in case there is a situation that arises in the next 12 months. But we're going to ask that you bring this forward for passage. We'll leave it to your discretion if you want it next Monday or the 15th. Mr. Roman?
Mr. Chair, I would prefer the 15th. It just makes it a little bit easier because we'll also prepare a supplemental appropriation for the end of the year, and we like to wait until the first pay in December so that we only have one pay left for the end of the year, and that also includes longevity in the first pay in December. So it just gives us a better idea of where all the funds are at and making sure that what we're budgeting for next year, they will have enough carryover balance to be able to budget that. So I would ask that we do it on the 15th.
Okay. So we'll have you make sure you prepare that for the 15th for final review and passage then. If there's no other questions for the administration from council members, we'll seek a motion to adjourn the budget hearing.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Horniak.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Drake. Any objections? Hearing no objections, meeting is adjourned.
Good evening, everybody. It's my honor to kick off tonight's celebration. We are welcoming our new mayor-elect being sworn into office today. We want to thank all of you for being here and being part of the ceremony. We want to thank all the members from the city, all the residents. And with no further ado, I'll now introduce Paul Drake, who will handle the swearing in for Mr. Slander. Paul? Thank you.
You ready, Lenny? I, Stephen R. Solander,
I, Stephen R. Solander,
do hereby swear and affirm that I shall support the Constitution of the United States of America,
do hereby swear and affirm that I shall
support
support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Oregon,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Oregon,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge
the duties of office to which I was elected
the duties of office of which I was elected
as mayor of the City of Oregon
as mayor of the City of Oregon,
according to the best of my ability and understanding,
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
I'll just take a moment. I don't want to take up a bunch of our time. Let's celebrate a little bit and have some cookies. Who don't love cookies? But thank you so much for everybody being here, for all the citizens of Oregon, the workers of Oregon, and all of you, especially who've taken the time to come out here tonight. It really touches my heart. So thank you so very much. And I also want to thank the team that I had behind me. That helped me through all this. You may see my name on the shirts and on the signs and so forth, but at the end of the day, it's more than just me. I had, an amazing team. I had strong women behind me. I had my daughter and my mom and my daughter's mom, my former wife, Renee, and absolutely my girlfriend, Lisa, too. That all of you were around me, and you let me kind of vent when I had to and just kind of release it. So I want to thank my dad. Thank you. I'm so happy that you're here. And so just thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I promise you, I will uphold my oath and I will do everything I can for all the citizens of Oregon, not just those who voted for me, but also the ones who didn't. So thank you. And today's a new day. The opportunity is now. One other quick thing that I don't want to forget. I want to especially thank also my good friend, Lenny. I appreciate you so very much. And Marge, I wish she was with us to share in this. I know she's with us, though, all around. And she was always just so much support for me and helped me and just guided me along the way. So I do want to dedicate this to Marge Brown. So thank you. And enough for me. Oh, actually, I just thought of something else. We're about to get some snow most likely this evening, so I do want to give a big shout out to our streets department that are out there and helping us, and the police and our fire, that you are out there while we're all snug, cozy in our beds, that you guys are out there protecting us and serving us and serving our citizens. So thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate you all, more than I could ever say. Thank you. And now I'm done. So have some cookies. Let's enjoy.
Good, how are you?
Sorry I missed it, but I was like, I made it. How you doing? Good, congratulations. I raced here, I did 38.
Judge.
Yeah. How's your mom doing? I thought of her the other day. Yeah, she's on Brown.